Well, hello everybody. So good to see you. Thank God I have swallowing skills tonight because I had a mouthful of cheeseburger and I was like, "Oh my God, I can't talk." Um, so you might hear me talking about that. Speaking of that, hello, welcome to Nom Talk Network, part of actually, we're on Nom Watch Review, part of Nom Talk Network. On this show, we review the latest film drop or throwback celebrating a milestone while eating and drinking our favorite beverages and eating our favorite foods. Happy Pride Month to you all. Happy Pride Month to my guests here. Um, I just want to say thank you so much for supporting and also being part of the community. Also, thank you to everybody that has supported people this entire month. Our human rights and trans rights are being attacked, and we want to say we love you, we support you. Let us know what we can do for you, and if we bring you little lights and little wonderful fluffies of joys for this month, please let us do so on Twitch or on anywhere that we are streaming. But tonight, I would like to introduce my guests for the evening. I'm your host, Jordyn Orozco, and right now I'm having my traditional little can Mai Tai that I always do, or my prehistoric Mai Tai, as I'll call it tonight. And as you have guessed, I'm having a wonderful and amazing cheeseburger that's microwavable because it was really quick and that's all I could do. I would like to say hello. I have two new guests who I've never been on with, and I'm so excited to talk about. And Eric, it is awesome and wonderful to see you. Let's start with you. What are you nomming on? What are you chomping on?
Well, hello. I am actually going to one of my go-tos is Jolly Ranchers because I'm never prepared with food. So I just have that in my bag prepared. And then after this weekend, I'm just drinking a Truly and lots of water because that's very necessary. Stay hydrated this month, guys.
Absolutely. Was it Pride weekend for you all this weekend?
It was Pride weekend for Colorado Springs, and then
Oh,
I get
good.
2 weeks breaks, and then it's Denver Pride. So
Yeah, in California, there's like like Pride happens at like different months. So like it was like LA Pride was this weekend. Last weekend it was WeHo, and then I'm going to Long Beach Pride, which is in August. So
yeah.
which is like never in August, but I'm like, all right, whatever. But it was the place I broke my ankle last year, so no roller skating for me. Anyway, let's go to Carla. Carla, it's good to see you. It is awesome to have you on the show. What are you chomping on? What are you drinking?
Well, today I am doing a little bit of ginger ale with a little bit of tequila. You can see that, but it's right here. And I got a little too snacky, so I finished my snacks before we even started. But it was little mini bell peppers and tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. Kind of healthy,
Oh,
balance.
excuse me. That sounds j very healthy. Me eating a cheeseburger and you're like
I
having
wish
like
I
healthy
was,
food.
I wish I had a cheeseburger though.
It's
Let's
actually
be.
really good. It's like Costco
You
microwavable
see it?
cheeseburger, so it's like amazing. Um, oh wait,
Give me
do
a
I have to do
cheeseburger.
like this? Hold on. Oh shit.
Ooh, hold it up like a makeup container.
Oh shit, it fell. Anyway, now that my laptop is covered in ketchup, let's go to JP. JP, what's going on, man? It's good to have you on. What are you nomming on? What are you snacking on?
Oh my God, I went all out because obviously it's Jurassic Park. So I have my veggie source salad.
I love it.
And then for all of the carnivores, I have a steak with potatoes and corn ribs. And
See, you know what? I, I don't know if I can have you on my shows because usually I'm the one that's like, I got all this fucking shit. Like, if you watch any of my streams, like if you watch anything that I host, I always like Eric. You can attest to this. I
Oh yeah.
always have the most elaborate fucking meals. I'm like, oh, I got some pasta here, and then I have some this here, and I also have some this here. So I'll just be snacking, and people are like, "What the hell? You always have the best food." You have the best food tonight, and I applaud you. Yes,
thanks, yeah. And I also have my
absolutely.
strawberry cheesecake. Mm.
Oh my God.
You, Jordan,
I
and
am.
the other win.
It's
Win the
Jurassic
nomming up or
Park
not.
and Pride
No,
Month. Come on now.
I mean, you're right. I just was not feeling food tonight. I don't know why. I was like, eh. But you win the Jurassic Food Award for tonight. And I'm really happy about it. In case you haven't noticed from our backgrounds or from anything that's going on or from the stream that's titled tonight, we are talking about the 1993 film Jurassic Park, which is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, which is almost as old as me, and that is saying something. And I'm so excited for this film. This film definitely was a huge milestone for me when I was a kid. Quick little sidebar. I used to work at a toy store that specifically catered to dinosaurs, and it was here in my town. It was South Pass, and it's like apparently it's like world renowned. It's called the Dinosaur Farm, and it has literally every single dinosaur that ever existed in like a little play thing. And so this sort of became an obsession for me, like working there. Yeah, we sold like kids' toys and like specialized kids' toys. And it was like in a very like white, rich like neighborhood where like you'd be like, can I have this? And then you have to wrap it for me because we did complimentary wrapping. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not wrapping your shit, lady. But I had to. But I got to know every single dinosaur and I could tell you what they are by name and like what era, all that stuff, because I worked there for so long. And it was just absolutely amazing. So this sort of tied into like the knowledge and sort of like what's going on with Jurassic Park. But also it's just literally just I think for people in like the millennial generation, like it was just a classic, right? Like you go to it, like you can you imagine a park where like people just like clone dinosaurs and then they just existed, right? And it was one of those things where I was just like, cool, like I can go to the zoo and look at animals and be like, oh, that's cute, that's still alive in the world, right? But then thinking about like dinosaurs that like come alive, right? And that absolutely are 100% amazing and also terrifying at the same time, right? As we see in the film. So I definitely am loving the fact that this, this film is what it is, right? Couple of like trigger warnings for all of y'all. There's some like gore, there's some like, people that get killed and like get named and all that stuff. And if you have any sensitivities to that, like just wanting to let you know, we're going to talk about everything that's about this film. And so definitely we want to just send that out there. But let's talk about how we were introduced to this film. Let's talk about who sort of like was an influence and how this got introduced to us. Carla, let's start with you.
Well, unlike our host today, I am actually as old as this movie. It came out.
Yeah. I'm older, so hopefully that says something.
And I was first introduced to this movie when it came out. And so if your guys are doing the math, yes, I was a newborn baby taken to the theater when this came out. I called my dad before telling him what I was going to do, and he's like, "Oh my God, that was your first movie," and he was so proud of it. And I'm like, "Why do you take a newborn baby to a movie of dinosaurs?" But he had so much fond memories about it, so it was cute. I was like, "Oh, Dad," and once I realized I grew up, loved it. It was terrifying because you're seeing dinosaurs being portrayed on screen as real things. And so it kind of like changed my world, literally. And because also John Williams music, I think that's when I fell in love. I was like, what is
Right.
this? But yeah, so that's how I got into it.
Yeah, and speaking of blood and gore, I'm still cleaning up catch up from my my keyboard, and it's great. But yeah, like that's so I think like I have to like credit my dad for introducing me to all these films when I was smaller, right? Like all the horror films, but also all of like some of the best films that I've ever seen. And so that's like definitely an amazing connection. And I think it's one of those films when like it's on, like you can't do anything but like watch it, right? Like or like if you want to do some nostalgia like trips, right? Like you watch it and then you're just like, dang, like that's still a good movie today, right? And the music, my God, is just like iconic, right? Like if you're doing like any like if you hear it somewhere, you're like, oh, Jurassic Park, right? And it's sometimes it's hard to pinpoint songs that come out and then you're like, oh, like I don't know where that's from, like where's it from? But this is like definitely one of those scores where you're like, it's for sure Jurassic Park. JP, what about you? What was your introduction into this film?
So I'm Mr. Old Balls. So I was actually probably 2 years old when this came out. My mother, I believe, took me to the movie theater to go see it because, I mean, it's dinosaurs. I love dinosaurs. I've always loved dinosaurs. And so, I mean, for a little kid too, like being like 10 years old and going into a movie, especially like a Steven Spielberg movie that was like all into sci-fi, which I was always into, and seeing like these amazing dinosaurs like really come to life and look realistic. I mean, it was just, yeah, it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and like the fact that like um a lot of it was like back then, yeah, okay, it was like visual back in the 90s, but a lot of it was like animatronics. And a
Yeah,
lot of it like they had to make. And the fact that they had this budget to do it is absolutely amazing, right? And um the fact that it looks so real, right? Like back in the 90s, right? When things are just like, oh, like what's going on, right? Um, yeah, it just, yeah, absolutely. And Eric, how did you get introduced to the film? What was your sort of beginnings of Jurassic Park?
Well, I definitely went and saw it in the theaters when I was a young kid. I think I was like 5, but I was obsessed with dinosaurs. I could name every single one, where they were from, everything. And then like Land Before Time and everything. So this movie came out, and I was like, we're going. It's so super excited, and it was one of my favorite movies for so long. Um, all of them really. I really kind of enjoy all of them. The newer ones, but the old ones I completely enjoy. So I just love it.
Yeah, and yeah, and I think a lot of people, especially the people that I've like talked to that are like that love this film and that definitely, I think going into it, there's a lot of iconic moments in this film where we can be like, oh yeah, that scene was great. That scene was great. And I think it was later on, especially for me, where I specifically read I read the book because like I'm a huge reader, and then I started to read the book, and you start to like compare and contrast, right? Because like Michael Crichton was the original author of Jurassic Park, and then there was Steven Spielberg, and they did a film adaptation of it, and it's great. And a lot of Michael Crichton's books were made into film, and this specific book is very like science driven. It's believable, right? It's like sci-fi, and I loved sort of like making that compare and contrast about what was going on. So I wanted to talk about, first of all, let's do our popcorn ratings because we definitely do that here on Nom Watch Review. What would you rate this film from 0 to 5 popcorn buckets? Let's go to you, JP. What did you give this film?
well, earlier I said I wanted to give it 100, but I can't, so I have to give it 5 popcorn buckets because it is Jurassic Park. Come on now.
Right, right, absolutely. And Eric, what would you give this film?
I would give this film a 4. Now I know I still love it like as much as you love it. It's just Grant and like Lex and stuff. I want to wring their necks because they annoy me so much, and I'll get into that later. I'll say why, but that's why I had to rate it a 4.
He left us. He left us.
No,
That was like one of the best parts. Oh my god. Yeah, no, there's so many quotable moments in here. And Carla, what would you rate this film? What would you rate this film out of popcorn buckets?
I am totally with JP on this one. 5, groundbreaking in many ways, both cinematography, writing, and just proving that magic can still be done with both like puppets so,
Yeah,
and computer CGI. So 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. If I could put 10, I would. But 5.
absolutely. Yeah. So I'm in the middle of everyone. As usual, probably. I'm like, I'm mad at everyone. I would say a 4.5 out of 5. And there's a couple of reasons why it won't get that 0.5 for me. Um, Mainly because of I think half of it is like some of it is acting, right? But some of it is also just like there's certain things where I was just like, that doesn't make sense, but we can get into that. So I would do definitely a 4.5 out of 5 popcorn buckets. So let's talk about it. Let's get into the nitty gritty of it, right? So uh, let's talk about like expectations. Let's talk about what we thought was going to go into it, and some of us have done that. By the way, before we start to get into the nitty gritty of Jurassic Park, I just wanted to let everybody know that we are fundraising for the Trevor Project. for this month of June for Pride Month. And if you all don't know what the Trevor Project is, it is a wonderful nonprofit organization that helps minors and that helps kids that are either coming out, LGBTQ, queer, trans, identifying, all that stuff. Not they can call this toll-free number if they're thinking about maybe committing suicide or they're thinking about doing harm to themselves, and they can call it because these people are available and ready for them to definitely help them in their well-being and in their existence on this planet. So we have a link in our bio, especially in Twitch and in everything else. If you want to donate, please donate to the Trevor Project. They're amazing. I work with them every day in my normal job besides this. And they're awesome and wonderful. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. So yes, let's talk about expectations. So when I originally, it was like, oh, I'm gonna watch Jurassic Park. I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna watch a film about dinosaurs, right? And you're like, okay, cool. Like, you don't know what to expect, right? Then you get into this film and you're like, oh shit, this guy actually did it and cloned dinosaurs. And then you get into the nitty-gritty of how it happened. And you're like, and what I appreciate about Malcolm's character and Jeff Goldblum, who plays Malcolm, and the character that is in Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park, which is Malcolm, is they stay sort of I feel like Jeff Goldblum plays a lighter version of the Malcolm in the book, because the Malcolm in the book is this is fucking wrong. Y'all are gonna this is catastrophe, absolute catastrophe. And he was just and I feel like Jeff Goldblum's character was okay, I'll go along with it until it's too late. And then I'm oh fuck, I'm gonna die. Right. And I kind of you kind of catch on to that. Right. And I just, you get immersed in this world that is just it's amazing. This film is utterly and wonderfully amazing in so many ways. Right. Not only is it a thriller, not only is it kind of a horror, but it's also enchanting. It's also mesmerizing. And I feel this film just completely exceeded expectations of what I was expecting, especially as a kid, right? Because you're oh, I'm gonna see dinosaurs, and you're you think you're gonna see Transformers, and you get this, and you're no, this is deeper. This is and you clearly don't understand it until you're older, right? But it's deeper, it's more meaningful. There's there's shit behind it, right? And then that's when you get the trilogy, and you get the new trilogy that came out, right? Because there's so much depth into that. Let's start with you, Carla. What did you think about this? Expectations? What were your thoughts after seeing it versus before?
Well, initially as a kid, when you watch these kinds of movies, you're not really in it for the plot. That's not one of the reasons that you just want to see what's there. It's cool. And I think the brilliance of Steven Spielberg is that anyone can enjoy this movie, regardless of age, regardless what it is, because you can follow the plot. It's easy. Oh, they are in trouble. Oh no, dinosaurs, they have to get out of the island. Cool, we're in it. Now as an adult, and I was watching it very recently, and I'm like, damn, these scientists, paleontologists, really sold their lives because they needed money for funding. Relatable. So and then they're talking about how they actually did it, and you're like, damn. Wishing the inner, maybe the subconscious, or my intrusive thoughts, that's kind of cool, and then we explore the possibilities, oh, it can go wrong. And so you're captivated, you were sucked into this imaginary world that you're seeing for the first time, and it's just a great thriller, scary movie. And I like the kids, the storyline between Grant becoming a father figure, who doesn't like that? So it has comedy relief, it has the love, it has the the thriller. So it's I think all around well-rounded, great.
Yeah. And I think it's you brought up a good point where it was just these scientists sold their soul for capitalism, right? Where it was and I think that's part of the deeper meaning of it. Sorry, there's people working on our apartment complex, so if you hear loud, my room is right by the dumpster. So, and I think like you hit a bigger point where it was like, it's about capitalism, right? It's about like the humanity of like, what will you do to not only bring back like a species that's gone like extinct, but also like, what are you willing to sacrifice in order to really like get your paycheck, right? Like in order to do that, right? And I think that like what's good about like Ellie and Grant is that like they don't necessarily see it that way. They're like, cool, this is for science, but also you're playing a dangerous game, right? Like you're toying, like you're acting like God, right? And I think it's also important to note that like the reason why, like half the reason why they sort of like the park failed was because of human error, right? Was because you have fucking Dodgson and the other dude who like completely like tore down the security of the entire like island because they were like he wanted to smuggle off embryos, right? And like that becomes like the core one of like the core themes of this entire film, right? Eric, let's go to you. What were your expectations before? What were your reactions after you saw it?
Well, much like Carla, I was a kid, so I was just like, hey, dinosaurs. I love it. No expectation. I just wanted to see dinosaurs. And there was a guy getting eaten and running, so I was all about it. But having watched it again, I watch it like once a year, but having watched it again for this, I had actually not realized how long it had been. I definitely did see like the capitalism and the greed and everything like that, but also on the other half of it with Hammond, him saying like, we spent so much money on all of this, but then you hear like Arnold, Ned, and Malcolm and all of them complaining about stuff that he didn't spend money on. So it's just like it's all greed on his part and everything like that. So it just comes to full circle with modern day life and everything. And plus there's dinosaurs and running and blood and a guy gets eaten in a toilet. So I love it. I have issues with some of the characters, but I'm pretty sure we'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then JP, what were your expectations before? And then after seeing it, what were your thoughts?
I mean, in the 90s, in 93, you could not walk anywhere, especially in a mall, without Jurassic Park just being posted everywhere because it was just one of those movies. It's Steven Spielberg at probably one of the prime moments of his entire career with this movie. I mean, you walk into like one of the bookstores, it's right front and center, all of the Michael Crichton Jurassic Park books right there. So being an avid reader myself, like going into it, I kind of like a little bit of knowledge about the novel, went into the movie, and I mean, that's everything. You couldn't even like flip through your TV in the 90s without people talking about this movie because, like you guys mentioned, the animatronics, the puppets, these dinosaurs were actually built. They were not created on a computer with CGI, with graphics. These were actually hand-painted, handcrafted animals that they brought back from the dead, literally, for this movie. And I think it really did not disappoint at all. I mean, the dinosaurs definitely did their job. Like I see the photo behind Carla, like the Vegisaurus. You know what I mean? He just looks cute. Like even in his eyes, you can tell that's a Vegisaurus. There's not like a mean bone in his body probably. And then you look over at your wallpaper. And you have the T-Rex. And the T-Rex, if you look at his eyes, like you can just tell that is a mean motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like he's going to eat you. So, I mean, they did a really good job. Yeah.
I have to appreciate that he brought up the T-Rex and you leaned and all we saw was shirtless Jeff Goldblum. I appreciate you on that one. Thank you. Other way. There we go.
Wait, this way? Sorry.
Just a little bit.
That was my goal, right? Like, I don't know if I know Eric's not here locally, but like I don't know, Carla and JP, if you're local or you've been to the Funko Pop store in Hollywood, if you walk in there all the way in the back, it's Malcolm like lying like with his shirt open like this on like the Jurassic Park Jeep. And then there's like the T-Rex Funko that's like behind him and it's like massive. I think I have a picture of it and I'll try to find it. But I bought that Funko because I was like, I need this so bad because it's such an iconic scene, right? And it's like sexy Jeff Goldblum, right? Like and all that stuff.
The
Um,
screaming in that scene, it's
oh yeah,
so you feel it in your bones. So like screaming
oh
to
yeah,
nothing, obviously, that
yeah,
and it's yeah.
yeah, just amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, I agree with you in the fact that like, so some of it was, I don't want to say computer animated, but some of it was animated back then. Like the scene where the T-Rex is in the main building and is screaming, and then the stream like comes down. That was computer, but for the most part, like when you saw a close up of like a dinosaur, yeah, that was animatronics, and like I think it just looked so real. And even some of the actors, like if you watch like any sort of like behind the scenes footage of anything, like they will tell you, they're like, we actually thought we were with dinosaurs, right? We actually like this was something that was new and innovative and we didn't have, right? And like now we have like CGI bullshit, or like I don't want to say it's bullshit because it's not, but like it's like Avatar, right? Like that's made with 100% like you have dots on your forehead, and it's like really hard to picture, right? Like what that would look like if it was like made with animatronics, right? And so and like Steven Spielberg with like Jaws and like all the other movies, right? Like he started with that, and to like move on to this like amazing film is pivotal, and it's absolutely amazing. Um, so let's talk about the story. Let's talk about the pacing. We know, let me see if I can do like a quick summary. So we open with Ellie and Dr. Oh God, not Dr. Sattler, that's Ellie.
Dr. Grant.
Grant, thank you. We open with them and they are doing an excavation. They are clearly paleontologists. They're not anthropologists, they're paleontologists. Very different, right? Like, and that's paleontology is a subset of geology, just to let everybody know it's not anthropology. Because anthropology is the study of humans, geology is the study of rocks, minerals, and also fossils, which are extinct species. Just want to let everybody know. I was like a former anthro major, so I just want anyway. So they are paleontologists. They are in the Badlands, and they are digging up a velociraptor. Dr. Grant is talking to some students. And then, long story short, they get a visit, and they are asked to come and basically preview the park without necessarily like being told that what it is. They're just like, yeah, we need you to come and like see things because you're like, and so they basically get on a helicopter, which I think most of this was filmed in Hawaii, and they basically go and they go on a tour, and they're like, we don't know what's going on, and then we have Hammond's grandkids, and then we have Malcolm, who is also brought in to sort of talk about sort of like the science and what's going on, and they pretty soon learn that this is a place, and it's one of the pivotal and iconic scenes of the entire film when Grant sees the Brachiosaurus eating from the trees and then turns Ellie's head, and then that's the iconic scene, right? Of actual living dinosaurs that are existing in everyday fucking life that we're in, right? But they're, it's tailored to this island. And then all havoc breaks loose, right? Because humans can't just fucking let things be, right? And we get this whole story of chaos, of animals breaking out, of animals killing people, eating people on the toilet while they're taking a shit, right? Like we get this entire story that is wonderful and amazing, and then eventually, Hammond has to realize that like this was a failed experiment, and it's just one of those like hard moments when sort of like a mad scientist realized that like what he's done is not necessarily to the benefit of humankind, right? And so I think the plot actually was, I don't think it went too slow, and I don't think it went too fast. I think it was actually even paced. I don't think there was a point when I was like, okay, hurry up, hurry up. Even that scene where Hammond and Ellie are talking in the cafeteria and Ellie's eating ice cream, and she's just like, she's basically telling him like you can't play God, and then she eventually goes, this is really good ice cream, like at the very end, right? Like she's basically admitting like this was a really good idea, but it massively failed, right? And then you get people like BD Wong, right? Like who is like pivotal actor, like AAPI, like one of the first AAPI actors in a major film, right? Like besides like Bruce Lee and all that stuff, to be the person who's like boots on the ground doing what people like want to do, right? Like literally like splicing and putting these, you know, dinosaurs together, right? Let's talk about the story. Let's talk about what you think about it. You can go into any sort of amounts of detail on it. Let's start with actually cue ball redeemed hydrate.
Oh.
So everybody hydrate.
Wait, okay.
Cheers. Thanks, Q. So let's go into the story. We'll start with you, JP. What did you think about the story pacing and the overall sort of feel for this movie? You gave it a 5 out of 5. Let's hear it.
I mean, the pacing's really great. They did a really great job at throwing in, like you said, like that whole sci-fi horror element, but then giving us enough time to be able to kind of like recuperate from how traumatic they were making this be on. I mean, they literally were scaring the crap out of us in the audience with these dinosaurs. I mean, especially the one with the shaving cream. He was trying to escape with the embryos.
Oh, it's Dilophosaurus.
There you go.
Like
yeah.
a little.
Yeah. Yeah, that was absolutely terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrifying. It's this cute little dinosaur, and all of a sudden it's all rah coming after you. You know what I mean? You have a T-Rex basically wreaking havoc all over the screen. I was so terrified of the T-Rex scene that like I used to keep a glass of water next to my bed after this movie because I was scared of T-Rexes, and that was my T-Rex detector. You know, I took these seriously. I mean, I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I have a really vivid imagination. I was a very imaginative kid. So I really did believe that this actually could happen because I mean, I just saw but the pacing's really good. I do believe that they gave us enough breathing room in between traumatizing us. Yeah,
I'm the opposite of you. I was introduced to horror at a very early age, and things scared the shit out of me very early, and then I got numb to everything. So I would purposefully want to bang the counter to just watch the water ripple, like, and just be like, the T-Rex is here, right? Like that was me. Like I was a very sick child, and then I evolved into this very sick human being. But yeah, like absolutely no. And I agree with you. Like as a kid watching this, you're like scared shitless. You're like, they're gonna die, and especially with like the raptor scenes and like just all of it. You're like I think one of the scenes that did scare me the most was the clever girl scene, right? Where like he's actively like he's a trained hunter. He's Australian, right? You're like, oh, he's gonna fucking kill this shit, or like Crocodile Dundee, but like dinosaur version. And it like gets him and kills him. And it's scary. Yeah, and you're like, you can't outrun this thing. Like it's gonna kill you. Like, and it's just gonna maim you, right? And I think that's the fear of like that's the hidden fear behind like every kid who wants to see actual dinosaurs exist again. Is that like cool? Like they might be like some of them might be cool, but like they'll kill you, right? Like they don't know any like you're food, right? And so, which is very interesting. Let's go to you, Eric. What did you think about the pacing? What did you think about the story? And all that.
I actually think the story is very good in this movie. They did a very good job. I know I haven't read the books, but I know from other people that they did change some aspects from what was in the book. So I'm definitely interested now to read those. But the story moved very well. Like you said, the pacing was very well. None of the scenes, even when they're just like sitting there talking or when he's trying to direct them with the map when she's running, everything just constantly. And they were to and fro, which I absolutely loved. Then you get the dinosaurs, which the animatronics and the puppets and everything like that, amazing. But the scare factors of the sounds that they made, because at that point we had like cartoons and stuff so we never heard. So this is the first time that Spielberg was just like, let's make this sound to terrify people even more. And like alligators and freaking crocodiles and just mixing baby elephant sounds in there to create this beautiful dinosaur sound and everything like that. I absolutely loved, and there's no complaints from the storyline at all. Except for making people dumb.
Yeah. My thing was when was it in the first one or the second one where he blew into the raptor box and it made it was the third one?
That was the third one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know we're not talking about that, but when he did that, I was like, it sounds like the raptors in Jurassic Park, right? Because you can hear it, and I get that those were sounds that were, but to make a sound like that without having any knowledge about what they sounded like or how they even existed was absolutely amazing. And you're right, when you hear them call or when they go "Arr, arr," and you're like, what? I'm sorry, what? You're smart? Okay. Yeah, and then you're just you're like shit, they can communicate, they do all that stuff. It was just, yeah, it was absolutely crazy. And JP, oh, go ahead.
Now all of us are going to be disappointed if they ever do clone dinosaurs if they don't sound like Steven Spielberg's.
I know. And what if they don't? What if they're meh? And you're like, what? I'm so mad at you right now. No, I'm going to train you to make the voice, right? I'm going to train you to do all that. Yeah. So, so story piecing, all that stuff. Okay. Sorry. Did I miss somebody? I can't. Did
Carla.
I miss? Yes, Carla. No, okay. I was like, I missed somebody. Carla, what did you think about the pacing? What did you think about the story? What did you think about everything going on in this film?
All right, listen, my hopes is to get you to 5. So it's about to go down. All right. We're introduced to these characters right away. We are given their virtues and their defects. Right. Okay. At some point, there's going to be a character arc. I'm waiting for that. And we got delivered. Love. Father figure. He likes kids. Ellie is integrant. And I'm glad that even after the movie is over, there's a little spark there that we see later on in other movies. And honestly, controversial, I don't care. They're the glue to the entire franchise after Jurassic Park 3. Okay. Oh. All right. So characters, we got it. The pacing is amazing. I think that they dedicated enough time they didn't waste film. Everything had a purpose, and therefore everything was put in its right place. It flowed with fluidity. I love it. And I think this is why it was very effective in being scary, yet not too scary. Well, not like JP, obviously traumatize him for that. But the practical...
JP's I kept a water on my bed. Be quiet.
And he had him everywhere. Imagine little JP just having 1,000 glasses.
Like the girl inside.
Yes. No. But that's to prove how practical effects were very effective, because we weren't really shown the dinosaurs. And maybe it was to save in budget, maybe because they didn't have the technology, but we were always shown little hints of the dinosaur running by, whooshing by the camera, and that was very effective because we didn't get too antsy to see the dinosaurs. We were kind of I want to see them, but this is fucking scary. So it was a pacing of you're making me wait. And when it does appear, it was well worth it. And it did not disappoint, because this first time we see it, it's when we only see the goat leg on the top. You're like, fuck, it's coming. And then you see it. And I swear, a goosebump, every hair on my body just goes up, and then it releases the most famous roar that we can probably imagine. And you're like, oh, they're fucked. This is scary. Dinosaurs are actually not funny. They're scary. Oh, man. And so it's amazing. And so we are shown through that. And I think while we're in between, we're right in the sauce with the whole chaotic, we're introduced to the dinosaurs. We're given little hints of the minor characters, the kids. I think that they don't force it onto it. It's like having side conversations. Have you ever guys played D&D? You know, side conversations are like really important for character development. And I feel like that's what the kids do. Because after they meet, they have their special moment with Grant. More character development.
Mhm.
The little boy's like, now she doesn't want to try anything new, to his sister. Now she's going to go back into her room and be on her computer all day. Great. That sets the precedent for her to be able to hack into the computer. Great. That doesn't come out of the blue. It's not like just thrown into there. It's like carefully placed so that people are like, well, that doesn't fit into the plot at all. Well done. And then towards the end, okay, the end I have little issues with, but because I'm so like diehard fan, I still love it to death. But even to the end, you have that relief and it ends on a bright note. And I think that my favorite movies of Jurassic Park end with, either, at the end of this one, the pelicans are flying next to them,
Mhm.
the helicopter. They didn't do that in the second one. That's why it's not the best one. And then in the third one, they did it, but with the
the pterosaurs. Yeah.
yes. And so I feel like it's just a theme like of hope in many ways. So pacing was great. Character development was amazing. I think acting was great. Everyone brought in their like little bits and pieces that made it amazing. And so, yeah, perfect recipe for a perfect movie.
Yeah, and I think for me, like you sparked something when you were first talking where it was like you, as much as this whole film was about dinosaurs, it was really about the human condition, about how we can control life, right? And I think like it gets so much deeper with that, right? Like I think like the fact that we can have power over life and death is something that like humans innately like want to sort of like control. And it's like we can't, right? Like we can't necessarily bring back an extinct sort of species without having consequences, right? And I think that's like what like the whole God conversation, right? Where it's just like, yeah, like you can play God, but like you also are human as well, and you have to suffer the consequences of your actions if you want to try to do this, right? And I think it's that like deeper meaning of like, well, yeah, like this is something that's absolutely amazing and scientific, but at the same time, there's real world consequences of bringing back dinosaurs, right? Like you're gonna fucking kill people, and you have to realize that, right? Like it's not like, oh, this is gonna make us money. It's like, yeah, it'll make you money in the short run, but then when they fucking come to land or they find some way to like sneak over into the mainland, like you're fucked, right? Like, and then all of a sudden we could have a potential, catastrophe that's going on, right?
Yeah. And as scientists, you're like, well, if as a scientist, why couldn't they think of all the possibilities of why couldn't it have gone wrong? And then you're like, how much money were they given? And because just imagine like all the things that could go wrong, but how much money would make you just ignore all of it? And you're like,
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like to be kept quiet, right?
Yeah.
So
I have student loans, so
what'd you say? What'd you say?
I have student loans, so however much that is.
Eric, I think we have some of those same loans.
Oh yeah, I have student loans at the wazoo, so I feel you. I just want to announce Cue Ball redeemed You're So Punny and would like Carla to make a pun. So Carla, I don't know if you know like the redeeming things. So basically you have to make a pun about either the movie or something that we've talked about tonight. So Cue Ball
Don't worry. Oh, a pun? Don't worry.
Yeah.
I will find a way to make a pun.
Wait, I love that. That was good. That was good. Did everybody get it? No? Okay. All right. Was that the pun? Was that the pun though?
I mean, I was leading up to it. That was kind of like foreplay for the pun, but listen, it'll come to me.
I always love foreplay, which is why I probably got it. Okay. So happy Pride Month, y'all. Okay, so Cue Ball said my rating is 5 out of 5. When I watched a while back, it felt like I watched it the first time. It has suspense, drama, adventure, and a little bit of horror. I think the special effects were incredible and insane. Yeah, like I totally agree. Like it's like that. It's that fine line between like it was like JP's like I need to put water on my like dresser for me, and then it was the fine line between like awe and like this could potentially happen, right? And like as a kid, you're like, fuck yeah, I want to see dinosaurs. Fuck yeah. And then when you see it as an adult, you're like, fuck no, like this shit's gonna go crazy. And like this is the like it's insane, right? And I think it was that, now when I watch it as an adult, I'm like, this is a fun film, right? And then especially when you like go to like, if you've been to Universal and you ride like Jurassic Park, you're like, fuck, like this is great. Oh my God, they like escaped, but they're not gonna get me because it's all make believe and all that stuff. But like the fact that like it's actually possible, especially now, like in 2023, like it's insane to think about it, right? And I think this film was definitely way ahead of its time when it came to sort of the science, technology, and all of that. And I applaud Steven Spielberg and definitely Michael Crichton for writing such science fiction novels to like look at that, right? Like it's like Ray Bradbury. It's like sometimes H.P. Lovecraft, right? Like where you think about things that could happen, right? Or the dystopian future of that. And I don't think this was definitely that far off. So let's talk about, let's see. So I know we like to talk about the people that were in it and all that stuff, casting. I know you, Eric, probably have a lot to say about the casting and a lot to say about like, yeah. But I feel like the casting, for the most part, was pretty spot on. Yeah, I think, talking to like Eric mentioned earlier, the kids, there was some annoyance there for me, and I'm like, of course, I'm gonna be kids. But I think for the most part, I think like Dr. Grant, I think Ellie, I think Malcolm, I think Hammond, even the lawyer who was there, right, who gets eaten by Tyrannosaurus Rex. I think they were 100% casted correctly, and I think that like they did a really great job at filling their character, but also like I think you said, Carla, sticking to their morals, values, their things that they sort of like encapsulated when it came to this film. Let's start with you, Eric. I want to hear everything about these people.
Actually, casting wise, I think it's perfect. Everybody they casted wise, but the characters themselves gave me issue. Like Grant and Sam Neill, perfect casting. Love that he stepped into that daddy role that Carla was saying, but also he was so stupid. Like he did when Tim was in the tree, he's the one who turned the wheel and made the whole tree fall. Hate that. When he was in the freaking helicopter trying to use the seatbelt and everything, he wouldn't let anybody help them. And they were trying to show him like his character was just so stupid of everything else except for dinosaurs. Like hated him. Lexi was no help in the movie. Loved the little girl. Saw her now. I actually just saw her on TikTok eating that Jello scene now as an adult and just like shaking. Funny. Loved her. But Tim, that little boy Tim, Joseph Mozella was I think him, and Laura Dern who played Ellie and Jeff Goldblum who played Malcolm are hands down the best actors in this entire movie, because that little boy was put through the ringer with everything. He was thrown over the thing in the car, shocked, almost eaten by everything. Like he was a very good actor for being that young. And then Laura Dern was the only one who really did any action in this movie. And yeah, no, those are my favorites, but the other ones were just so stupid. Especially Muldoon too, being the tracker of the Velociraptors and not knowing that they hunt in packs. Like that was said at the beginning of the movie, and you're supposed to be. So it's just the stupidity of the characters. The actors did great.
But he's Australian, mate. He can kind of do that. He really can't. That's actually a good point. Like, what a fucking dumbass. And then let's go to JP. What did you think about the casting? What did you think about the people that played these roles?
I mean, it's really great. It's a very white ensemble.
There's
a black cracked pepper up in that mix. Let's be real honest.
About Samuel L.
Yeah.
Right. We have the one or two.
Petey and Sam. That's it.
Right. No, but they did a really great job. The great thing about like being a writer is I'm starting to work on adaptation right now myself. And when you have a great novel like Jurassic Park, you have a lot to be able to pull from, especially when adapting it for a completely different media. Because when you're reading a novel, you're basically, the movie's playing in your head, how you see the characters, how you envision these dinosaurs and everything like that, how you think they actually sound. And then for somebody like Steven Spielberg and the person who adapted the movie, like into the film, like being able to see like what they actually, like what their imagination is bringing to it. And then these actors, like they just basically like had these characters like in these novels. And I think they did a really great job. Each character, they all had different layers to them. They were absolutely terrifying. I believe that like they were literally like afraid for their lives in this film, especially the two kids in the kitchen scene with the velociraptor. Oh my God.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And I don't even know how those kids did it at that age. I would probably came out of like this film having PTSD or something. I mean, I'd probably be telling Daddy Steven Spielberg to be paying my psych bills for the rest of my life. So,
Hey, do it. No, but thank you for giving that perspective, right? Because a lot of times, like especially for me as somebody that's just an observer, like yeah, I could have been an actor, right? Like yeah, I could have, but like as somebody that like doesn't have that sort of like creative mindset of like a screenwriter or like somebody that writes, right? Like we don't necessarily see that side of it. And so I appreciate that 100%. And the fact that like you said, like there's so much like sort of material to pull from, especially when it's like an adaptation from a novel. And you're right, like, but I think they did and Steven Spielberg did the best job that they could with this film in a way where it was like, yeah, cool, I would have loved to seen this, but like it didn't take away from it. Like it wasn't something where it was like it was a complete catastrophe, right? Like and so definitely appreciate that. And then Carla, what do you think about the casting? What do you think about the overall um the performance of these characters?
I think it's great. All of them are amazing. They were like, I have no, no, no.
She's like, no comment, but it's good comment. Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's giving. It gave, and we loved it.
The Tyrannosaurus and the Velociraptors, they ate literally. So it's fine. Yeah. To close out, let's talk about any closing statements that we have about this film. I definitely will. This will be a part of my my library of films that I could watch over and over again and not get tired of. I think that we missed a lot of like points that happened in a lot of areas where this happened, but I feel like clearly this movie opened up a whole genre of films that have come after it. Whether you like or hate 2, 3, and the new Jurassic World series, like it opened up a sort of niche sort of nerdism for us people where we watched it, we loved it, and then it became an obsession, like a little bit, right? Like it became something where it was like, yeah, we had like dinosaurs, right? Like on TV. Yeah, we had like Power Rangers and their little Zords, right? Like, but this was something that we could actually tangible see and like feel and be a part of. And it was like definitely a part of our childhood where like I don't think any other film could do this type of thing where we got a reaction where it was like shit, like we learned about dinosaurs in like in grade school in history and all that other stuff, and now it's like actually being portrayed in film and in real life, and it was just something where I was like, damn, like this is definitely possible. And I think for me, like anything, a film that I see that's possible is definitely something to applaud and be grateful for. So any last minute thoughts? Let's go to you, Eric. On the film, would you recommend it? What's the vibe?
Oh no, I would definitely recommend this film. Like you said, it's definitely gonna be in my collection forever and always. And my sister's kids and everybody are gonna watch it. I'm gonna force them to watch it. Now getting watching it though, I am picking up those little like character things. Like I said, now I think Grant is kind of stupid, but I'm just picking that up now. But thoroughly love this movie. Recommend it to everybody. Watch it always and forever.
Yes, absolutely. And Carla, any last minute thoughts?
Yes, Laura Dern is a fucking badass, and to portray a woman in STEM, and when Hammond was like, maybe I should go because I'm an Enura, and she's like, please, like, yes, I think, and obviously seeing that and being a woman in STEM myself is like, you know what? Yeah, that's right. Represent. I would have liked her to be Latina, but it's fine. We can't always have what we want, but yes.
Yeah, I don't think people were thinking about that. Like, they weren't even, it's terrible to say. And it was like, oh, now you're just catching up in the 2020s. And it's like back in the 90s, they were just like, here, let's just cast whoever.
Mhm.
Right. And it's just, yeah.
Even the newer ones are a little bit more diverse, but not as diverse as they should be.
Yeah. No,
Right.
100%.
We're hitting the right. You know what? Let's make our own. Let's make our own
Let's do it.
dinosaur
Let's
movie.
do it.
I'll write it.
Oh my God. Yes, please do. We can call it Jurassic Park. And
we'll be all the gay Velociraptors. How about
I
that?
was just gonna say rar. No, it's gonna be like rar bitch.
Right.
It's gonna be like slay slash and then somebody dies. And then JP, any last minute thoughts about the film?
Yeah, I'm going to take off my gloves and I'm going to actually say this and I will defend this.
Oh shit.
This is probably Steven Spielberg's last great movie to date. Because it all kind of went to shit after this one. It is. You gave us dinosaurs. You can't really come back from that, Uh-oh.
He made this one at the same time as Schindler's List.
I mean,
He said, I said what I said.
Okay.
Another thing at the same time, all on its own. But honestly, when you think of Steven Spielberg, though, you do think of him as a sci-fi director.
Mm-hmm.
That is what he is known for. So Schindler's List, yes, that got you your Oscar, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? But Steven Spielberg is an entertainer first and foremost. And he is entertaining because of the sci-fi elements that he brings to life. E.T., Jurassic Park, all of these, he brings it to life for us. He literally gives us aliens and dinosaurs. And I'm sorry, but you give us Tyrannosaurus Rex and Velociraptors, there's no coming back from that, So, yeah.
His chance went extinct of any good movie after that, you're saying?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, dinosaurs, done.
So he's saying after 93, Spielberg is shit.
I'm not saying that because it is Steven Spielberg. I'm just saying this is probably like his last epic sci-fi movie. Yeah, today. Like this was it. This was his bread and butter right here.
I'm a huge Close Encounters of the Third Kind fan. Like that was like my movie, and like me and my dad have been into aliens like since I was a little boy. And so that's like my Steven Spielberg movie, like 100% to date. Like I will fight anybody, but like you're yeah, you're absolutely right. Like there's tons of films where you're like, okay, this is what he does. This is what's going on. And so choice words, sir. Yeah, we should have a Steven Spielberg night and like just go at it. It'd be amazing. I'm not hosting, but like whoever hosts, like I'm totally like clearing it and everything. But
I'll do hour 1, you do hour 2.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, that's all the time we have to talk about Jurassic Park tonight, 1993. Shout out to my guests for the evening, Carla, JP, and Eric. It is so wonderful, and it was wonderful to have you on tonight's stream. You guys were amazing, beautiful, and wonderful to be here. Tell us where we can find y'all on the socials. I know I saw like the promotional stuff going on. Carla, you were dressed as Spider-Man. JP, you're clearly a writer, like going to be amazing and successful. And Eric, you are just doing wonderful and amazing things in Denver and helping the people and the Republicans of Denver to die. So where can we find you? Where can we find you, Carla, on the socials?
You can find me on Instagram, Carla Isabel.38. I love movies, I love Dungeons and Dragons, and I love space. And I'm a geology major, so anything related to that I talk about on my page, and you can find me there.
That's awesome. I love that. And Eric, where can we find you?
You can find me on all socials at Heartless7. That's HARTL3SS7. And then I'm here quite a bit, hosting or guesting or everything. So look for me here on Nom Talk Network.
Yes. And last but not least, JP, where can we find you?
You can find my Instagay at Rapoetz, RAPOETZ. Same name on TikTok, RAPOETZ, because I'm a poet, because that's what I do. I write.
And you can see him soon on a movie screen near you, hopefully, right?
Hopefully, I know. Well, a stage's coming first, so yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. I know, I need to get involved in stage gun. That's not gonna happen. Like, I'm too old for that shit. They're gonna be like,
No.
oh,
No, do
I
not.
totally am. I can't.
No.
No.
No negative talking.
We have enough ageism within the
Recording.
industry already. You don't need to do it to yourself.
That's true. That's true. Well, you know what? I gotta find the motivation. I'll probably go do it again. Anyway, you can find me on Instagram at cityofstars13. I don't post a lot of posts, but I post a lot of funny stories. I'm constantly on looking for the next best thing. Please follow my friends here. They are wonderful, amazing people that are getting degrees, that are doing things that are way more successful than I could ever imagine another person doing. So please follow these wonderful individuals and everybody else that does these Nom Talk Network shows and reviews and binges, because we love you all and we do this for you from the bottom of our lovely little Black and prehistoric hearts. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to join our Discord to keep the conversation going, as well as subscribing to our platforms. We are all at Nom Talk Network. I'd like to give a shout out to our wonderful and amazing producer, Stephanie. You are amazing. We love you. You are what makes InGen happen. Just kidding. They're the enemy. You're what makes Jurassic Park happen. We love you, Steph. Tune into our next show, which is going to be hosted by me. It's going to be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which was an amazing film. I'm so excited to talk about it. And that will be this Wednesday coming up. Until then, I am Jordyn Orozco, your host for the evening, and I hope you all have a nomorific night. Goodbye.